So now that we know all about the farm, its pastures and forages, let's talk a little bit about the horses. I've chosen 4 horses. Audrey actually has 4 high-performance European horses that she's currently showing. And so I've only chose one of them because they're all similar in size and age. So I've chosen Famous O. He's a 9-year-old Dutch warm blood gelding. Our second horse is my husband's horse, Diego. He's a 15-year-old quarter horse paint. He's an easy keeper who's prone to colic and will be moving from Montana to Patriot Farm in New Jersey. And our third horse is Apache, my assistant page's 26-year-old retired first pony that took her through Pony Club, and he has Cushing's disease. And our fourth horse is Doodad, and Doodad is a younger mini horse of unknown age that's recently been rescued and is being used in another client's therapeutic riding program. So it's important when the farm is going to be ready that we transition the horses to the new farm gradually. We will be assuming that Patriot's construction is completed and all 4 horses will be moved to the new facility. As we know, any changes in diet need to be done very gradually. So because this farm has a different pasture than the horses are used to and different forages, it'll be important to make this transition gradual so that the bacteria in the horse's digestive tract have time to adjust to the new feed and to avoid colic. Each horse will be trailered to the property with a week's supply of their existing hay, and we'll implement a 10 to 14 day adaptation period of new hay by mixing their old hay with the new hay in the following ratios. For the first 1 to 3 days, they'll get 75% of the old hay, 25% of the new hay. From days 4 to 6, they'll get 50% and 50% of old and new. Days 7 to 10, they'll get 25% of old, 75% of new, and days 11 to 15, depending on how the horses are adjusting, they'll get 100% new hay, and we'll cut back some if they don't seem to be adjusting well. The same gradual transition is going to be done with the horses' concentrates as well. And depending on the grass that they're getting on their last farm, we'll make this transition with the horses that are on grass. They'll get 2 hours on the new grass and increase it by an hour each day until they're conditioned. Except for Doodad, who's the mini, he'll be only allowed a limited time on grass. So because of his size, we're going to treat him like he's going on spring grass for the first time. And we're going to do this in 15-minute increments each day, being increased until we work up to a 4 to 6 hours of pasture for him. And since his current pasture is very sparse and Patriot is quite lush. And Apache will not be allowed to eat grass because of his Cushing's disease. So we've developed new feed programs for each of the horses. We've considered the pasture that they'll be having and also the forage that they'll be getting, and then we've used the NRC ration evaluation software to balance their diets. And I'll just give you a little summary. All the actual calculations are in my report. So for Famous O, he's in heavy work. He's showing in big equitation, 3 to 6 foot fences. His current schedule is 3 weeks on and a week off, and he's ridden 6 days a week. Famous normally gets a half-day turnout when not showing and will continue to do so at the new farm. Famous should be allowed free choice hay all day, and if he finishes hay, he should be allowed to have more. Because of his heavy work schedule, we need to keep close tabs on his body condition score so he keeps weight on and make adjustments as necessary to ensure his energy requirements are being met and his calorie intake is sufficient on a daily basis. Compared to the other horses, his nutrient requirements are going to be much greater, several times more than the other horses, particularly with regard to digestible energy. So he will have increased needs for protein, calcium, and phosphorus, as well as electrolytes, sodium, potassium chloride, which are all lost in sweat. So I'm balancing, because of Famous's workload, I'm balancing his diet with 2.25 of his body weight, and with a forage and half forage and then half in his concentrates. I've selected a Triple Crown training feed for him This is an oat-based, corn-free, high-fat feed, perfect for hardworking horses that require high calorie intake. It's high in digestible fibers and contains fish oils and flaxseed to increase omega-3 fatty acid levels, which will assist in decreasing inflammation because of his exercise routine. And I've balanced his diet, and he gets his concentrates 3 times a day with plenty of fresh water, a salt lick, and Famous likes to dunk his hay in water, and that actually helps keep him hydrated. Diego is my 15-year-old quarter horse Paint. He's 16 two hands and about 1,200 pounds. And Diego's being kept at maintenance, is used as an occasional trail horse with a very light workload. He rests all winter with no work. Diego likes to live outside and with access to run-in stalls, run-in sheds, and tree cover. He is used to being on pasture all day in the spring and fall. And last summer we tried all night in the summer because of the heat, and then he's on a dry lot the rest of the day with access to free hay. And although Patriot would like to have all their horses inside for the night in the stalls, Diego's going to be the exception because he does not like being in a stall. Diego's had multiple bouts of colic, and so it's important to keep him moving, so we really don't want to keep him in a stall at night. His major colic episodes have been in the winter, so we also want to keep him really hydrated. In the winter, the horses don't really notice that they're thirsty because of the heat, so sometimes they just kind of forget to drink. So we will top dress his feed with salt so he wants to keep hydrated. Diego's currently being fed a small ration of a LMF Super Supplement G, which is a ration balancer, and it's specifically designed to complement Montana and Northwestern pastures. So since he's being moved to New Jersey, we are finding a new mix for him that will also be a ration balancer, and that will complement that will complement the pastures in New Jersey. Diego will be fed twice a day, along with the rest of the horses. The only horses being fed 3 times a day is Famous O and his other high work horses. So Apache is our 3rd horse. He's a 26-year-old 380-pound Shetland pony with a body condition score of 3 to 4. He's had Cushing's he was diagnosed with Cushing's disease 6 years ago, which is pituitary pars intermedia dysfunction. Cushing's is a common disease in older horses, particularly with a history of obesity, metabolic disorders, insulin resistance, or prone to getting ulcers. This condition causes an enlargement of the pituitary gland at the base of the horse's brain and a secretion of hormones. Horses with PPID or Cushing's disease are prone to severe laminitis and a compromised immune system. So if not properly managed, it can be can have fatal results. So good nutritional management and diet to increase the function of the immune system is important in Cushing's, and it can be controlled. So it's very important to limit the non-structural carbohydrates in a Cushing's horse diet. So sweet feeds and fresh pasture are out, and it's important to develop a diet that has less than 20% non-structural carbs. And if Cushing's is acute, it might be necessary to go down to 10%. So since most foragers are high in non-structural carbohydrates, the Cushing's horse his forage rations forage portions should be rationed and never have access to free hay or free pasture. In addition to his Cushing's, Apache has very few teeth, so it's hard for him to chew his food, and therefore hard for him to keep weight on. I've chosen a Triple Crown Senior. I've chosen a Triple Crown Senior feed for Apache that is, that is a pelleted beet pulp based feed. The feed has a NSC of 11.7, but is high in fat to help him keep his weight on. It's a very soft and easily digestible, and can also be mixed with water and served as a mash. The feed can be used as a complete feed to replace all forage if it gets to the point where Apache is no longer able to eat his forage. Wetting the forage can also help a senior horse process it. So using the NRC ration evaluation software for balancing diets, we are starting, we're limiting his forage to 0.75 of his body weight and balanced out the senior feed for the rest of his requirements. Our fourth horse is Doodad, and Doodad is a younger mini horse whose exact age is unknown. He was a rescue. His body weight is 220 pounds and had been very neglected, so he was terribly underweight when he was rescued. Typically, mini horses are easy keepers and can be fed on a forage-only diet. Minis are very prone to obesity when fed energy-rich feeds, so we want to work with him just on a forage-only diet, and we're just going to be balancing that with a ration balancer, so to make sure that he gets all of his, vitamins and minerals. And he's a grazing muzzle, maybe in order, we want to keep him outside with the rest of the horses, but we're going to limit his grass to 4 to 6 hours a day. Overfeeding minis is a common issue because they're so petite, they fall into getting too many treats, and a handful of this and a handful of that, and it can actually be very dangerous for them. So with Doodad, we're more or less, instead of, we don't have to worry so much about keeping weight on, we have to worry about keeping weight off of him. When we're keeping weight off of him, the mini horses are also very susceptible to a condition called hyperlipidemia, which can happen if they are taking fat off the mini horse too quickly. So Doodad is going to be fed a Triple Crown, the 30% ration balancer, the same feed that we're feeding Diego. So in summary, those are our 4 horses. So in summary, it's important for any caretaker of any horse to be observant and cognitive of every little nuance of the behavior of horses within their care, so they know when something is off. A horse will let you know when something is wrong. And sometimes it's very subtle, and sometimes it's quite loud. But when there's a change in behavior, you have to ask yourself, what has changed, so you know how to correct it. Knowing your horse's body condition score, not as a number, but as a visual observance of how their body looks and how they're acting and how their body feels, and every little bump and lump. And knowing these things about your horse will keep you in tune with what their needs are and how their needs are changing. Having a general understanding of the horse's digestive system is important, and the properties of their feedstuffs and how the horses react to various feedstuffs, what the requirements are. All this is necessary to, and along with knowing their level of work and the quality of their forages, all important factors to know in developing a diet management plan like we have for Patriot Farm. So that's our summary. Hope I didn't bore you too much. And thank you for listening to my discussion.